Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Is Saudi Arabia losing its dominance in the world oil market? And could we see an oversupply of oil due to the shale in the near future? Let's start with that one, Maury. I think that the OPEC countries are a little concerned, and they should be, about an energy revolution in America. Shale obviously being a big part of that. Could we actually see an oversupply of oil coming from the shale producing countries?
Absolutely. Well, we are the big shale producing country. I mean, the United States, nobody comes close to us.
Canada?
No, Canada, oil sands are very costly. Shale is relatively cheap. The Permian Basin, which is probably the hottest basin in the United States today, at $50 a barrel can make money. The comparable oil sands out of Alberta province in Canada would have to have at least $65 or $70 to really break even.
We've cut into Saudi Arabia's exports quite a bit on oil, haven't we?
Well, we have, because everybody played footsie with Saudi Arabia, starting with Franklin Roosevelt, who recognized them as an independent country. Ever since then, Saudi Arabia has had it all their own way. They dominated OPEC. They tried to stop the formation of the State of Israel. They only have about 30 million people in that country. They're basically the major Sunni country, as opposed to Iran, which is a major Shia. And they're not militarily capable of defending themselves, no matter what they say. They have depended on the United States to support them wholeheartedly.
And we have.
And we have until now. The question is now, with Trump in the picture, I doubt whether that's going to happen. So I think Saudi Arabia is in the most difficult position that it has ever been in right now. Economically
and security.
Both.
So economically, with oil hovering at $47, $48, $50 a barrel, say, can the shale producers make a good profit at that level?
The shale producers, yes, but remember, the oil that they get out of the ground is what's called light oil, West Texas Intermediate. You know who doesn't like that kind of oil? The refineries, because they don't have much work. So they like the heavy oil that comes out of the North Sea, or that comes out of Africa, or the Mideast, out of Iran and out of Saudi Arabia. So the countries, which is the United States, for instance, still imports a sizable amount of oil from Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia also owns a number of refineries right here in the United States.
So they've got the best of both worlds with that one.
Oh,
they're covering both bases.
Yeah, they have bought their way into many deals that they're going to be very hard to push out of.
They just decided to cut production within the last 6 months, right?
Yeah, well,
how much have they cut their production?
They've cut it about 5 to 8%. The only way they did that is that the Russians, who are not part of OPEC, who are producing as much as the Saudi Arabians are, which is in excess of 10 million barrels a day, have a deal with the Saudis. See, the Russians have amazingly taken a very powerful position in the Middle East. They are allied with Iran. They're more than allied. They are the senior partner in that partnership with Iran, and consequently the Saudis are beginning to feel threatened, and they went along with this remember they originally said they would go along, and they didn't go along. Well, then finally they decided to, because they realized that they are trying to get investors from around the world in order to share the problems that they have now in producing. But to answer your question regarding the future of Saudi Arabia, I think they've seen their better days.
So the oil dominance of the Saudi Arabian influence is waning.
It's waning very quickly because they are just barely staying up there with the Russians and with the United States. The United States, if we went whole hog with the shales that we have, and with that type of production, and that's the bulk of our oil production today, we could be number one in the world very easily.